Hey y'all, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and I wanted to show you guys the different cabochons that you can expect in your February 2024 craft along kit. Okay, so in our $15 kits, you can expect one of our tile style cabochons in this beautiful purple that has these, like, what we did is we stacked the frit and then we put the sheet glass on top of it, and I just love the way that it came out. And then you can also expect one of our pink and white frit cabochons. These are much pinker in person. Sorry, I'm experimenting with lighting and I forgot to bring my tripod, so bear with me. Now these are our handmade heart cabochons that we made out of polymer clay. They have a little bit of flex to them because they are made from Cos clay, which is a rubberized polymer clay. And then also all of our kits, you can expect to get one of these hearts that were designed by our niece, Maddie. She does such a good job. And those are on, like, it's just sticker paper, so they're die cut, so you would peel them at the edges. With our $25 kit, you can expect to get 7 yards of the bare copper in 21 gauge square, and we will be doing tutorials showing what to do with the heart. I don't know, at the time of recording, I'm just doing the unboxing, then I'm sitting down tomorrow and doing all the tutorials for this. So if we don't cover the tutorials for just the $25 kit in this video, I will have linked down in the video description. Look at that dog. I will have videos linked down in the video description for what we would recommend for this wire gauge and these sizes of cabochons, but we are going to be focusing our wrap this month on the polymer clay hearts. And so the tile, the frit, the clay, as well as one of these diacrylic. Check them out, you guys. I love steampunk stuff. And I don't know, February and Valentine's Day just seemed appropriate for that. Now with the $35 kit, again, you can expect the 7 yards of the bare copper square in 21 gauge with another one of these tile, which, I mean, they're just gorgeous, y'all. I absolutely love them. And then 2 different styles of frit. This one is made from chunked frit, and then this one is made from the frit that was left over whenever we made our puddle smash cabs that I think look a little bit kind of like rhodonite, perhaps, or rhodochrosite. What do you guys think? Like, I absolutely love the banding in that. And then, I wanted to give you guys an idea just of the color scheme in general, the shapes in general, and the sizes in general, because not all of them will be this size and not all of them will be this size. It's a spectrum. So, ooh, and then another one of these little steampunky. That's the neighbor's rooster hollering at the sky. And then this one, you get 2 styles of the frit. Or the tile style cabs, again with the frit style, again with the polymer clay, with another one of the smashed cabs, and then 2 different styles of dichro, and this is for the 45. Now the 45 is going to get 2 styles of wire, and that's going to be for the tutorial that we're going to be focusing on, like with the style of wrap. But you can always supplement. We recommend our 35 and below tiers for folks who kind of already have a little bit of a stash going in their craft room, so you might already have some different wire. Like, if you already are pretty happy with your wire collection, I definitely recommend the $15 kit. But yeah, so both kinds of those wires for the 45 and then also for the 55. And you can see here, these are all the different cabs that you're going to be getting with our largest kit. And that is 2 of the tile, 2 of our teardrop style frit that I think will just be perfect, you guys, for doing, I've seen some really beautiful, like half heart friendship necklace, like wraps and stuff, like floating around on the social media and stuff. So I'm kind of interested in experimenting and trying to do a wrap like that. Here's another one of those second style of frit cabs that we did this month, again made from the remnants of the puddle smash. I had so much fun making these, you guys, in our live streams and just in the working late into the evening with Randy, just hanging out, and my niece, and it's been great. And then 2 of that style, and then 2 of our frit dichro that I think look kind of opalescent, and then another one of these little steampunky guys. So that is what you can expect in your kits. Please let me know if you have any questions or anything about like that, or if you have any like suggestions for future months kits, and let's get to crafting. Now, all of these cabs we make in our home, whether it's the polymer clay or whether it's the fused glass. So if, whoop, oh, the sun's right in my face. So if y'all ever have any problems or anything with your cabochons, just send us an email, and like, so if something's missing or if it broke in transit, just send us an email and we will get you all taken care of. Y'all, that sky is so blue today. Alrighty, y'all, we have some laundry going, so you're probably going to be hearing that thudding around in the background. But I'm going to go ahead and we are going to pull off 4 lengths at 14 inches of our bare copper 21 gauge square to, about 14 inches. So I've just measured that off on the ruler on the edge of my desk, and then I'm using my flush cutters. Now you can expect a little bit of, your bare copper isn't, going to be completely bright and shiny right off of the spool. There may be a little bit of oxidizing. Just the conditions in our house. Our house was built in 1905. It is drafty to every element that we're aware of. So there's a little bit of, tarnish going on here, but 2, 3. That polishes right off, and I'll be showing y'all how we can do that. 1, 2, 3, and then it doesn't have to be perfect, clearly. So there's 4, and I'm going to set these off to the side because I want to show y'all how to do this wrap right here. So what we've got going on here, we've actually, for the past couple of Fridays, been working with the materials that come in the kit, as well as, working with, if we have a couple of other things, like this one has some 28 gauge, no, that's 26 gauge, round wire, just around the 21 gauge square. And so this is going to be a whole separate tutorial of its own, but just different things that we've been working on. So if you're interested in seeing alternate designs, be sure to pop by our Friday live streams. Now there's a bunch of stuff going on the screen in those live streams because it's got like the chat, and then it's got like a face window. But we are making tutorials for each of the things that are covered in that as well. But those Fridays, I think, are a really great opportunity to get, just craft together, live, get your questions, ask your questions and get them answered live as well. So this is the back, and we're going to be doing a little bit different. I didn't need to be doing prongs, but I was having fun and experimenting. So if you have, I'll zoom back in just a smidge. If you have some 26 or 28 gauge, you could totally do this style of heart right there. But I'm going to show you how to do just the single layer heart. So we have our 4 14-inch sections, and then I'm going to come in here again with the 21 gauge square, and I'm going to snip off, it doesn't take a whole lot. This is 8 inches, and then I'm going to use my flat nose pliers. I don't know what happened there, but my camera just crashed, but we are back, and fortunately we didn't lose anything. So I'm going to grab right there, and I'm going to, let's see, give it a bend, and we're going to bend this just all the way around. And something that I really like to do here is hold with some flat jaw pliers just to keep it from twisting. Let's see. I'm going to zoom in a fair bit for you. And then I'm just going to squeeze. Just like that, and that's brought the tip together now. And from here, I'm going to hold on just the little tippy tip of our wire, and I'm going to bend this that away, and I'm going to bend this that away. And then from here, you could use a pen or a knitting needle or whatever you feel like. I'm going to use my 8mm jaw on my mandrel pliers, and I'm just going to hold on to that. And I do recommend experimenting a bit and seeing what proportion you like. Sorry, just the dog upstairs. Like what proportions you like. I like to grab just about there. It's about a 1/2 inch or maybe a centimeter away from where the point is where I grab with my pliers, and then I just shape around. And I'm going to flip around to the other side. I'm going to try to grab in about the same spot, and I'm going to bend the wire around to where it's on the same side of the heart as the first wire. Like, it's easier to have both of those wires on the same side. And so I'm just going to bend that around. And then we can take that and kind of shape it a little bit. If you need to, you can take that and bend it in just a little bit more to get them to be more symmetrical, if you want. And so from here, and I've been trying to keep my, I've been trying to keep my wire, the squareness of it all like on the same plane. It's not a huge deal. If you twist the wire up a bit, it may get quite stiff, so you may want to torch anneal it, which is just like heating it up. I do it typically till it glows just a little bit, and then it'll be nice and soft. But then we get into like fire scale and pickling and all these other things, so it's I'm trying to keep it relatively simple, but there is a whole rabbit hole to go down with metalsmithing that goes very much hand in hand with wire wrapping, that I'm feeling more and more tempted to go down that rabbit hole, y'all, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But it's good to learn. And so I'm just going to bend that towards the back. I've held with the flat nose pliers, kind of broadside. And now from here, we can take our 21 gauge half round, also in bare copper. And you can always tell, ooh, it's going to want to do that. That's fun. You can tell which side is the flattened half round side. I'm going to go ahead and snip this first. I'm going to give myself, ooh, how much is this? I'm just going to snip that there. Set that off to the side. It looks like that is about 1 foot. So it's 12 inches. I'm going to zoom out for y'all. And I'm going to come in here. And I'm just going to start. You can see I've left myself a couple of inches for tail to kind of wrap around. But yeah, the round side, the light shines off of it a certain way. And then on the flat side, the light flashes almost. So that's the flat side, and that's the half round side. So half round and then flat. So I do hope that that's helpful to y'all. And then I'm just going to continue wrapping. And I'm going to wrap. I'm just going to kind of focus on using up that 2 inches of tail wire. And I do like to pull kind of snug. Now I'm not going to smush it onto the core wires just yet, because it makes it so much easier to move. Okay, so I'm going to leave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 coils is pretty good. I'm going to trim off this little bit of tail wire. I save all of my scrap wire because you can send it to refineries to get it smelted down. I just be careful to make sure that I have, similar metals with similar metals. So like I keep any silver separate from copper, separate from steel, separate from, anything that can be recycled. And then I'm just going to scooch that down real close to the center of the heart. And then we're going to give it a smush and a squish. And from there, because if I had smushed it, it just makes it harder to bend, or to slide rather. Sorry, I'm going to go with the excuse that it's still early in the day. So words are hard. But they're hard late in the day too. They're hard midday. And so I'm just coming in now and kind of squishing that flat. But it goes a little off center. That's okay, we just bend it. And so if we wanted to make that into a full-on veil, I would have just continued the coiling all the way around. And then we'll go over how to do these variations in a separate tutorial all their own. But for today, we've got that little bit of wire, and I'm going to leave the rest of that 12 inches, or it had been originally 12 inches. So now we're going to take more of our half round wire. I'm just going to go ahead and snip off. This is about 20 inches worth. We're going to be using it in a lot of small pieces. So this is the cabochon that I'm going to be wrapping today. And I did make these out of polymer clay. They do have a little bit of flex to them. That's normal. We use Cos clay, which is like a rubberized polymer. So it's nice and flexy, but you don't have to worry about, I wouldn't try to break it like a cookie, but if you're displeased with the edges, it's very easy to just take like an emery board nail file and just kind of, do this in a well-ventilated area with a breath mask on so you're not like getting it into your lungs. But you can, shape that back edge if you like. But I think I like using them this way, so that's how I'm using it. And then we are going to take all of our square wires, and I'm going to start just in the center. And I'm going to take this again with about 2 or 3 inches of tail wire, and I am going to start wrapping them. There's 1 and 2 and 3 little wraps around. Now, if it's helpful to you, I'll have links down in the video description for using like clamps and different things. Like this is a style of clamp with wing nuts. There's also, this is a very common clamp style that you can find called a ring clamp. And I think it's fantastic because it's so much faster than having to screw about with the wing nuts. But I really like this one because it's not, the weight of it is different. But you could use one of these clamps to, let's say, make sure whatever you're using though, that it does have a little bit of leather in the jaws so that it's not marring your wood, but you just position it, or it's not marring your wire with the wood. You just position it, and then I just wedge that into the back, and now that makes it so much easier, not having to squeeze all crazy with your hand. And we can just continue this wrapping around. Now I am going to go ahead and give it the old squishy smush. So I'm just squish, squish. And the square wire sits so pleasantly shoulder to shoulder. You could do this if you're following along and you don't have our kit. You could totally do this with round wire, but things would get a little, they're not going to sit quite as well. So you'll want to just adjust as necessary. You can do it. It can be tricky, but you can do it. Keep in mind, if wire wrapping were easy, we'd all do it well. But that's why it takes so much practice. And so I'm going to choose that side as the back. And what I mean by back in this instance is this is going to be the part that is sandwiched between, the cab and the outside. So the cab's going to be sitting like that. And then it's as easy as that to remove the ring clamp. So I am going to set these off to the side, but I wanted to let you guys know that it's the poor craftsman blames their tools whenever something goes wrong, but it really does make a big difference to have the right tool for the job. So it's totally possible without it, but it's totally easier with it. And so now I'm just going to wrap a few, give it the old squish and smush. Because once you have a little bit going, it does a good job of, the half round especially does a good job of holding everything kind of in place. So we're going to go, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that was our 10th. Let's go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, oh, let's go ahead and do 20. So there's 16, 17, 18. Oh, and it's starting to get bunched together. So to keep wires from crossing over each other, I'm going to start down here from where I had already smushed. And I'm going to work my way back up because I do not want those wires crossing over each other. Oh, how many were we at? 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, and 19, and 20, and then I'm going to finish it here on the back side. So I'm going to smush, and just so that I can move my pliers along the wire, I'm going to use the edge of my pliers to condense that down. And then I'm going to snip this so that it terminates about halfway across the span. I'd always rather how this one comes across 3 of the wires. I'd rather it come almost all the way across than barely across enough, is my own preference. It happens all sorts of which ways, but it's okay to have preferences. I don't get hung up on them though. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I'm going to hold it right on like the 8th wire. No, I'm not going to do it on the 9th one. And I am going to bend this to a right angle. I'm a little off center. I guess I could have held it on the 10th one. But you can always take off a few wraps if you're super worried about being symmetrical. I am not super worried about being symmetrical. If I stayed hung up about that, my hair would have fallen out by stress, and I'd still be hung up on like my first 5 pieces I've ever made. Sometimes just embrace the chaos and let it be what it's going to be, just for the sake of getting it done, I guess. But so there we have that. You can see I had bent it to a right angle and then opened it up to accommodate the tip of our cabochon, because you could do a very similar wrap to this on like a teardrop or an oval or a round or something irregular. Like a really cool, like funky symmetrical heart would be pretty cool, or a shield shaped pendant, like all sorts of different options, y'all. And so now the next step that we're going to do is we're going to do more of this wrapping, just about with like a centimeter gap. And then I'm going to do maybe 8 coils. So again, I'm going to start with a little bit of tail wire. And I'm just going to come in like that, bending around. And then I wrap with that bit of tail first. There we go. So there's 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And then I'm going to finish it on the back. And then we'll give it a trim. Now I'm going to do this a slightly different way on the other side. I tend to like to hold my half round wire as though it's a ribbon and turn the piece that I'm working on, just because that's my preferred way. But I'm going to show y'all another route if that's not working out for you. I'm going to go to the old squishy smush, and I'm just going to push that down into position. And so now here on the other side, we're going to do that same thing. And now we're going to, I like to get that bent around. And now from here, we can smush it. And then I like to grab with my pliers and pull a little tight. And then we can go, this is the same so far. Woo! I'm going to kind of move it down into place. We can smush and squish. There we go. So there's 4. There's 5 coming around, making sure I'm not putting any twists in my wire. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8, and then we'll terminate there on the back. There we go. And some mush. Now you could use a ruler again if you're interested in like symmetry. I'm pretty pleased with that. And now what we're going to do, let's see if I can't. Turn that like that. I'm going to grab with my flat nose pliers just one of our wires, and you'll see I'm bracing with my thumb here and with my finger there. If I were doing this left-handed, the bracing would stay the same. I'm bracing with my thumb and I have my finger underneath because it's providing counter pressure, and then I'd still just be grabbing right there, and then we're going to bend away from us. So we're just going to turn our hand. We want to be careful here because we don't want our pliers to slip. And so you can see how that started. Now my left hand's very weak and not familiar with this because I am right hand dominant in my wire wrapping. But we're just going to take that. And if I'm doing it this way, you can see I'm just getting stuff braced. Let's see, I think I prefer this angle. So if the way that I'm doing it isn't hitting it for you, try something else. There's no right or wrong way to do this, y'all. Woof, except for maybe that. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more space because I need it. Now I do prefer to have these wraps done, but I think I was kind of crowding myself. So there's that, and now, yeah, pulled that tab a little deeper. And you can see it's all kinds of, I guess I shouldn't have squished it so hard. Sometimes we don't know that we squished it too hard until it's too late. So there's that side. And now while we still have that space going on there, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to turn. Now see, that one went just perfect and smooth. Oh well. So there's, I was trying to get them to match. Oops. And so there's those two. I want to open this side up just a bit by pushing that up. And then we're going to come right here, grab just one of the wires. And then once you've moved it a bit, you can kind of, grab a little more deeply. It's just on that first one that I want to make sure I'm only grabbing the one wire. It certainly does seem to help to do a smidge on one side and then do the other side and then come back. Yeah, that worked much better. And so there we have this, and I'm going to take these and I'm going to splay them apart. And I'm just using my thumbnails for that, but you could also use the jaws of your pliers, insert them, and then I'm going to zoom out on this one so I have inserted my pliers in between, and then I'm just getting I'm going to be opening my pliers. And that just opens up those jaws, or with the jaws, that way you can insert your cab. Now you want to be careful here. Treat your polymer clay as though it's very soft gemstone, like a turquoise or a malachite or amber. So in a battle of polymer clay versus metal, the metal is going to win. So go ahead and use your pliers to open that up just a little bit more. Incrementally, because we don't want to go like too wide. There we go. And now we're in there. Excellent. And from here, we can actually take our round nose pliers and grip just towards the tip and curve that in. So if you can kind of see the difference, this is the curved side and that's the straight protruding side. Again, I'm going to take it and just roll in, bracing on the back side with my finger. And now it's not poking out all weird. So that's how we do that. And now I'm going to set our stone off to the side again. And I kind of want to try to scooch this in a bit, but I don't know if it's gonna, if that's very receptive to that. It's still okay. Like, this isn't the end of the world that we went, you know, almost 2 centimeters instead of just the 1. So now we'll shape this around the side of our cab. If you've made your own cabochon out of polymer clay, which we do have tutorials for how to do that as well, you could totally use the cookie cutter that you used as a mandrel. So whatever cutter you used to cut your cabochon out, if you did, you might have free-handed it, but also you could use like the handle of a cooking spoon or a hammer or like a ring mandrel or something. There's all sorts of different options of things. So if you're worried about breaking your stone, that would be a way around that. So now whoop, super durable. We are going to reinsert our heart, and we can take the backmost wire. I don't know why my situation's all twisty all of a sudden, but it is. And I'm just going to bring it down like, kind of like that. I just want them to start growing in the direction that I intend for them to end up in. Not worried too much about symmetry exactly at this point. Just getting those, and it's going to kind of help cup there on the back. And then from here, and again, I'm going to take the heart out. There's a whole lot of like squishing and things going on here. So I'm going to open that up just a bit. And then I want to bring this back side in just some, because I feel like if it were a stone or one of our glass cabs especially, I'd be fine with just, you know, pressing on it. I don't think the polymer clay is going to like that. So I'm just coming in. There we go. And just trying to bend in that back wire. I'm significantly less concerned about screwing up the back, you know, than I am the front. So it is what it is. There we go. Oh, that's nestled in all nice and comfy now. And there's those. So now we're going to come around. I said that's nestled in all comfy. There's a lot of spring back on this bare copper. I think it definitely hardens it a little bit to be shaped through the mill to get that nice square shape. But we're going to come down, and I am just shaping this along the edge of our heart. And then taking this one, and again, shaping it around the edge of our heart on the other side. And then we could mark here where we want, like with a marker, where we want our bend to be happening. Because I want it to be kind of right in line with where it's going to start traveling to the back, but down like a smidge. So if you can see right where my fingernail is where I've decided I'm going to make our bend. So I'm holding that in place. And I just want to say, this is probably not a beginner tutorial. I highly recommend checking out, if you're new to wire wrapping and this is frustrating to you, we have our whole wire wrapping masterclass series for free here on YouTube and on our website, where you just click, go to backtoearthcreations.com And there in the top menu, it's going to say tutorials. You hover over that. It's a drop down menu. It says wire wrapping. You click that. And that's where I'm building a comprehensive library of, because we have over like 800 tutorials at this point, you guys. Like, it's a mess, like, to try to navigate. So I was going to try to put together, like, a coherent curriculum so that, to take you from your first time picking up wires and pliers to having practiced everything that I have to teach. So I'm going to take the pieces that would be on the front of the heart, and I've just opened them like doors. And this is going to let us, so I did that little bit of a practice bend. I'm going to straighten that out so it's bypassing the other wires. And I'm going to bend this like that away. It's very similar to the little heart we had done. This same bend that we're doing here, just the whole rest of it's the bezel that we're making. But we're doing this technique again. So that's what that's going to end up being. I just have to bend it out this way. That way, that way there's not a bunch of stuff in the way. And I can just bend up. Boop, there we go. And now we can put our little heart back in, just because that's what I'm using to reference to. Like, that's my template, more or less. And then we're going to fold that down, and we're going to fold that down. And that's, ooh, I love it. That's how that's looking. So now let's take, we've got some of this half round wire. And I am going to start just wherever, like probably in the middle. And I'm going to do this loose-ish because I really want it to be able to slide well. So I'm not going to be doing any cinching, and I'm not going to do a whole long length of it. I think like 4 or 5 or 3 repetitions of this. Yeah. So there's 3. Let's do 5. That's a nice round number. That should be good. So there's 5. Now I am going to open that out just a little. If you can see that little bit there. I hesitate to zoom in because I really don't want to wander out of frame. But I'm going to snip that. And I'm going to very gently encourage it back down, but I am not squeezing. See how easy we want that to slide? Oh. Now I'm going to need to do a few more wraps to get this. I'm looking for a tool. Here's a stick. I just want to push it back up a little. That stick didn't work. Maybe these pliers, because I'm just trying to push from below. There we go. To get that back out to a place where I can do more coils. So 5 slid well for me. Let's see if we can get away with doing 10. 2, 3, 4, 5. And how did I do it on this one? Oh, I just coiled all the way around. Okay. At this point, again, making sure I'm keeping those coils pretty loosey-goosey. I mean, even, but not cinching, not gripping or anything. Okay, that's a pretty good place to stop. About a 1/2 inch or so. Ah, this is much harder to slide. Well, crap. There we go. Oh, and my heart went all weird. That's okay. We'll make it work. So we kind of get to pick our battles on this one. I could have had a harder time doing the coiling because, the mass of the piece was in the way. Or we could be fighting with this part. So choose your opponent and good luck. Did they get swapped? No? Okay. So here I'm using my pliers to brace against the wire and it just doesn't want to come. So I'm going to see if I can... Ah! Jackknifed. Uh-oh. That's okay. I'm going to undo some of these to try to make my life a smidge easier. Compromise. It's okay. There we go. That's all it took. Just undoing 3. Who'd have thought? Okay, so I'm getting those pulled back up and in. And now I'm coming around here. My fingies are kind of sore. That's okay though. Gotta build up those calluses. I mean, always listen to and respect yourself. And, you know, if you're learning this, respect that we all have limitations. And some, like, I have good days and I have bad days with my hand injury from about a year ago now. But sometimes my knuckles just start to hurt. But sometimes it's the warming up and stretching. Sometimes it's I can tell the muscles are tired. And sometimes it hurts in the joints. When it hurts in the joints, that's when I set my pliers down and say, I'll come back to this when I don't feel like I'm doing damage. But you know your body better than anybody. So use your discretion and live to craft another day. So now we can smush the heck out of it. And I'm going to continue bringing this wire around. I really wish I had cut just a little longer for my wire, because that would have been how we... And I'm also giving this a little stronger of a bend. Okay, so see how it holds in the top there? Comes down and then just nestles right in like the crack of the heart. That's what we're going for. And then how it travels down the back in between these 2 wires. That's what I'm going for back here. Because you can see here how we do that little bit of binding. So if I'd given myself just a little bit more wire, I do always recommend to folks to watch the tutorial before tackling it, just because I don't know what I'm doing, y'all. Like, I try to have a plan coming into these things. The plan never survives first contact with the project. So I would just know I'm never misinforming on purpose. I too thought that would be enough wire. So I'm just bringing this around, getting those bits smushed together. Those 4 wires are the bits that I'm talking about. And then coming around this way. And this is a perfect opportunity to practice splicing in some wire, because sometimes we just don't have enough of it. And that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take significantly more wire than what I think I need for this one spot. Boop. Snipping it off. So that's another like 10 inches or so. And then if our wire's exiting this way, I'm going to put this wire in as though it were a continuation of that ribbon. And then I'm going to bend. I'm going to bend. And I'm actually going to bend this out just a bit, just to give ourselves some room to function. Okay, and so now from here, we have both of these wires. I am going to risk zooming in a smidge. Forgive me if I wander out of frame. But what we're looking at here is I want to snip this one, these 2 wires. Let's see, we've got those lifted. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to snip on the shorter side, and then I'm going to snip on the shorter side. And now whenever I press these down, those wires sit next to each other. And then I can come in and I can give it the old squishy smush and a squishy smush. I'm going to try that one from the other angle, which I imagine that's going to be hard to catch on camera, but it just is easier for my hand to get at from that direction. Okay, so we have those smushed now. Then we'll press this down. And then I think, how many more? What did we do on this one? Yeah, we just terminated it there on the back. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to zoom back out. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and snip that, making sure that I'm snipping just the one wire I want to snip. And from here, we can bring this around. Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and trim these two side wires to the same length. I like to use my hand as a ruler because I usually have it on me. So I'm just doing 3 fingers width and snipping, and then 3 fingers width and snipping. You could use your hand as a ruler, or we could measure. This is measuring from where it's exiting on the frame, close to 50 millimeters, and it's close to 60 millimeters from where it's diverging from the rest of the wrapping. But really, you could do more than that, you could do less than that. The whole point of it is I want to make a spiral for here on the back. So I'm going to grab as close to the tip of the wire and as close to the tip of the pliers as I can. And I'm just going to, and we have a whole masterclass, y'all, on going over how to do spirals and different techniques. So this is purely stylistic. I just like spirals. Like, I can't help myself. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. Trying to keep the spiral very two-dimensional, honestly. Like that way it's very flat against our piece. And just bringing that on in. And if it's not very flat against the piece, well, that's when we smush it. So let's see. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go like... Sometimes we may need to get in there to make a little bit of room for our tools. There we go. And then I just like to use the flat side of my pliers to give it the old squishy smush. There we go. And now from here, we're going to go around the outside. So I'm going to split these to where they're exiting right below where those bends are. So I like to use reference points of where things happened in the wrap to maintain the symmetry, and just as, well, reference points really. And if you're worried about those spirals, we can just tuck them a little behind, or you could do an additional wrap right there. I'm not super worried about it. This 21 gauge square in the Behr copper seems pretty nice and durable. So I'm just going to bring that around right where the coiling stopped, or the side wraps. And so we've done that first training bend, and now I'm going to open it back up and just curve that whole little bit, and then I'm going to pass it through right there. And now, providing the support right here on this bend, I'm going to grab with my pliers, and then I'm going to just pull that on in like that. If I had not done that training bend, like, it just seems to give a point in the wire where all the tension will focus, and that will be where, not the weak point, but where just all that, I don't know what to call it. It just seems to work a little bit more consistently, because like right here, it's going to want to bend there, but since we did that bend, maybe it's all in my head, who knows. But it seems to work, y'all. I don't know what to say. But, and then we're going to just bring that around to the front, again, stacking next to each other like that. So And I have it working towards the back. You could get wild. Like, you could do all sorts of decorative stuff. But I think I'm just going to snip. Let's bend both of these back out towards the front. I'm going to do a finger width from where it's exiting from the heart. There's that side. And there's that side. Or we could measure. It's about 20 millimeters from the where it's exiting the back of the heart. Yeah, rough about. I'm not super worried. But we always have somebody who's like, yeah, but our fingers are different sizes. It's like, that's true, they are. And then I'm coming through. These are my petite nose, round nose pliers. Here they are compared to my other round nose that I typically use. So they're pretty petite. Those will be linked down in the video description. I really like them specifically for doing what it is that we're doing here, which is using a thinner wire, because past 21 gauge or 20 gauge, these little pliers have a hard time. But man, they make such cute little spirals. Wee bitty. And so, but you could totally use the same round nose pliers I've been using all day. And then I'm just going to use the our flat nose pliers, which if yours have a hard time getting in there, you can see how thin the tips of ours are. We'd taken these to a grinder, grinding from the outside to make those tips a little more chisel-like. That way I could actually fit it where I need to. So that's how that's coming along. I just love the way the back looks on that one. And now we get to do our little heart. How did we do this last time? So now we're going to, I'm definitely probably maybe going to need to splice in more wire. I'm just building the coil up on this because that's going to be what we're making the bail with. And smush and squish. And now I'm going to take these and I'm going to bend. So we've got a lot of angles going on here. So I'm going to do that, bend that away. And then I'm going to grab this and I'm going to do this bend that away to where it comes back up. So it's a little bit of a stair step that we've just done there. But I want it to sit, boop, right there on, I love that, right there on top of the other one, because that's where our bail is going to be coming together. And I wanted this to kind of just incorporate directly into our bail just without any issues. So now we can set that off to the side. And I'm going to use the edge of our heart as a template to shape this wire around. And then I'm going to take it right here where I want that bend to happen, where it's going to be meeting into our bail. And I'm just going to bend up. And we don't need to squish that just yet. So I'm going to bend around the edge of our cab. And the big difference of on a heart, as opposed to like a broad teardrop or pear shape or something, is instead of finishing the wire like that and doing the bend up, that bend up into the bail, we just have the wire curves around deeper. So, and I know it oversimplifies it. Like, I know that's a gross oversimplification of like, oh, well, you just do this. It's like blah, blah, blah. Like, if it's just that easy, then why am I crying? Like, so, but you can do it. You've got this. So I'm trying to, yep. And I'm just going to bend. Sometimes you just gotta trust, and if it doesn't come out the way you wanted, that's okay, because you still tried. So there's those. You could do figure 8 bales, you could do all sorts of different bales, but I want to show you, because there's going to be a lot of different wires kind of just flopping around all over the place here. And so I think it's very, very useful to start figuring out. Like, I'm really pleased with this way that I've been doing of hiding the bale wires. So from here, I need to change the orientation of the wires. So here I want them to be flat next to each other because of the heart. And then here, I'm going to take them and I'm going to twist that to where they're sitting side by side. And so again, we're going to do that on this side. I'm going to use my flat nose pliers to hold. And then I twisted, the front one came towards the middle. So I'm going to twist this way on this one. Front one comes towards the middle. There we are. And now, and that's going to look a little weird. That's okay. It's going to get hidden in the thick of it. So now we're going to place in that little heart that we had done. And I'm going to put that around both of those. And I'm going to put that around right there. I'm pressing quite firmly on the back of this because I wanted our wire to all be friends. But now they're not being friends. They're being weird. Why are you being weird? You know, and that's okay. I'm just going to be overlapping some of what I had already coiled in the center with the half round. And that's perfectly all right. So now I can get those wires oriented to where they're a little closer together. And again, just wrapping back over what we had already done. Trying to maintain that tension. And now we can come in and give that a squish. Because we're going to be doing a thing to tighten this up here in just a sec too. So really trying to put on that tension to get those wires to sit shoulder to shoulder. But I don't want them crossing on me either. So this would be a great opportunity to use one of those clamps, but I'm going to keep going without it just in case you at home don't have one. And just continue doing that wrap around. Again, trying to make sure our wires don't get crossed. So every couple, giving it a nice solid smush. And so now from here, we can start primping a little. And then I'm going to come in with these bent nose or flat nose pliers. I'm using them because they're narrower. You could use round nose pliers, or you could use the same flat nose that we had used earlier. But I like coming in, and I'm going to use my thumb right there on the top of the curve of the heart and do that bend in. And then again, grabbing that one wire. Sometimes I like to make a little bit of space for myself, but applying that pressure is going to help us to get even results. And then bending that in, and then I can just smush it down with the side of my pliers. But that tightens that up just a smidge. And I like it. You don't have to do that, but I like it. Especially with like the steampunky look. So good. Okay. So now I'm going to continue using this last bit of wire. Again, I really thought this would be enough, but it's another great opportunity for splicing. And this may actually be easier to demonstrate the splicing on. Here's another random bit. So again, the wire's exiting this way. I'm going to want to put this on here as though, you know, it's traveling in the same direction. So it's just a continuation of the same ribbon. Yeah, there we go. We'll stop at that one. So see how that sits? And then, so that we have 6 wires here. So we can almost use those as our guide. I'm going to cut at the 3rd wire. Right there. Let's go ahead and smush it on down. And then over here, I am going to cut at the 3rd wire. And there'll be a little bit of a gap, but it's a way of ensuring I'm going to have the space for these to sit comfortably in coexistence with each other. So if you can see there, that's our little gap. And you just want them to fit. And then we're going to continue doing this wrap. Y'all, there's a link down in the video description if you want to support more free tutorials and have the same materials that we craft with. That's the link to join our club at backtoearthcreations.com. And I don't know if I'd mentioned that, but that's down in the video description. We also have our YouTube channel members, which I think is like $1.99 a month, but you get all sorts of behind the scenes. You can see the archive of our Kick live streams from over on Kick. But it is not necessary to do any of those things. We do sell materials on our website as well. And then we also have things linked down in the video description to where we shop from. That way, hopefully you'll get the best price possible, but you do not have to buy the kits to participate in our craft along projects or in our Friday craft along live streams. It's just a way that, well, I love getting to craft with y'all. I'm pretty tickled about our whole community over there on YouTube. It's some of the coolest folks I've ever had the joy of meeting, both online and in person. And so I just wanted to let you know. But more than anything, the best way to support the channel is to just keep it crafty, keep enjoying yourself, keep challenging yourself and learning new things. So scooching, just keeping, every once in a while it's nice to take a mental step back and just look at what you've done so far. I'm pretty pleased with that. So now I've splayed off these 2 sides. And let's measure how much of a bale have we made here, because it probably wouldn't hurt to do a little longer. This is a 30mm bale, so we'll see how far that gets us, and you can decide for yourself whether you want to go a little farther or not. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip about 1 centimeter past. I love these snips, y'all. Like, they don't even blink. It does not faze them to be snipping through all that. And then I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to get up in there like that. And I'm holding it quite sturdy. And then I'm just going to bend. And this is another reason why I really like that narrow tip. I mean, there's only so far that I can go before the piece gets in its own way. But I really like that. And then we'll just come in here from the other side. And I like to put my fingers on the side, but be careful. It will pinch you. And then some mush. Oh, I love that. And that took care of 4 of the wires that prior to practicing this, I'd been trying to figure out where in the heck I was going to finish off all those ends. You know, it was like such a headache. So here we could use a knitting needle, we could use a pen, we could use a stick, I don't know, all sorts, or we could use our mandrel pliers. And I'm going to grab it at about halfway on the bale. And then I'm just shaping this around. Oh, I love that. That's so sharp. And then how did we finish this one off? Yep. So what I'm going to do is now we've bent that around, and that's a good length. I'm pretty pleased with that length, actually, for our bale. I'm going to open it back up, and I'm going to train these guys right through. I'm going to use this wire to point right here. Boop, boop, boop. So I don't want to be going through our heart. I want to be coming above it and just through, oops, poke myself in the finger right there. And so to do that, I'm getting that curve started, and I'm going to do it on both of them. And then just kind of feeding it through. Trying to pick what pliers I'm going to use. And then I'm going to grab the tip there. I'm holding on to the bail. Whoop. And we just get it started. And then I'm going to get this one threaded through. Again, not going through the heart on the front, just around the back there. And then grabbing and pulling through. And now we can start tugging evenly, a little on one side and a little on the other, pressing with our thumb to support. And now from here, I'm just going to bend that up and around. We could loop through again if and as you want. I don't think that's necessary. I'm just bringing that around. Oh, we could get all kinds of like weird and stuff too, and do like some cool spirals. We could put on some beads and say, there's no limits, y'all. And I'm very excited to see what you guys make following along with this tutorial. So you can use the hashtag #CraftAlongWithVon. And you can tag us at Back to Earth Creations, and that is on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok now. We got our TikTok. I'm not so great about posting regularly on social media, and quite frankly, it stresses me out. I'm a much happier artist than I am content creator. And so that is kind of what it is. And I know that there's a lot of pressure from every single which way to appease algorithms and try to get those vanity metrics up and stuff, but don't feel pressured to participate on social media. It's supposed to be fun, and you know, so I'm working on trying to keep it fun for me, so I don't want to be stressing anybody out with it. But yeah, which is tricky, you know, because there's all that marketing stuff and different things, but really, at the end of the day, the joy that we get from crafting is all we have left. After the piece is sold, after the posts are posted, after the money is made and spent, it was the joy that we got from it. And so sometimes I forget that. So this is a reminder more for me than for y'all. But if I need the reminder, maybe you do too. So I've just come in there, and I don't want this snagging on stuff. So I'm going to like bend it just a little, and it pushes it out initially, but then we like squish it. And now it's still sticking out, so that did nothing. Maybe if we just squish it harder. Ooh. There we go. So I'm pushing on the front and I'm lifting there, and that made some tension by lifting the little hump bumps of the heart. But yeah, I just snipped, and then we can come in here, and I am going to zoom. So this is where that wire terminated. I'm just going to come in and give it me. Squish. And bring that together. And it's just like a little closed loop. And then here's this one on this side. So I'm just going to come in. And this is what I like my bent nose pliers for. And I've even got some wee bitty bent nose pliers for fitting in there. And again, that might be a better angle. Boop. Just squeezing that little loop shut. And that's our bail. It's a little lumpy and weird over here on the side, but I think that's fine. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. And then I think the bail will still fit the chain that I'm planning on having, but if you wanted to use a thicker mandrel to shape that around a little bit more, you totally could. And this is how to make this heart. So I guess the next step is going to be liver of sulfur. So to oxidize our piece, we have some liver of sulfur gel, nitrile gloves, our piece to be oxidized. I'm going to be using the paintbrush method this time. And I've got a jar here of 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and it's a pint jar, so 2 cups. And then also a moonshine polishing cloth and a touch of, I'm going to try out a little bit of the sandpaper. It's a 1200 grit. We'll see if it does anything. So what I've done here is I'm using the liver of sulfur gel in one of these kind of cheap paintbrushes that I get from the paint by number kits that I enjoy, and I'm applying it pretty thickly wherever I want the tarnish to be. Now I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I should have just diluted this in some hot water and dipped it and I'd have had a much easier time, but we learn by experimenting, and I'm very happy with how this experiment is going. So I've let this kind of sit, and again, dipping it would have been nice, but I'm going to put it into our baking soda water to neutralize. Oh, wow, and there's all sorts of little flakes coming off. Like, that's interesting. That's weird. I've never seen that before. This is a clean jar and just water and baking soda, so I guess maybe that's some of the solution, perhaps? And what I mean by some of the solution is the liver of sulfur reacting with the baking soda. So words are hard, bear with me. Okay, so now I just have a regular paper towel. And if this, oh, that's a cool imprint at the back anyways. If this were a gemstone, you know, like any kind of the quartz family or anything like that, or one of our fused glass cabochons that we sell on our website, backtoearthcreations.com. Sorry, shameless self-promotion. But I would have just dipped it into a liver of sulfur solution following the instructions on the bottle, and links for everything will be down in the video description below. But I wanted to experiment because this is a new technique to me, doing the painted on. I think still making a solution instead of using the gel thick as it is. So what I'm going to do here with this really fine grit sandpaper is I just want to come through, because the polymer clay is very, very soft, y'all. Like, I do not want it to take any scratching or anything like that, and it's because the colors on the surface are from the paint. Like, the clay is just one color, and if it were just bare clay, even if it were multiple colors of bare clay, I still would have, you know, not felt so bad, but I don't want to scrape the paint off. So I'm just coming through, removing on the high surfaces. I don't know if you're noticing any difference, but this might be a good spot to experiment with. Yeah, it's getting a little bit off of there. But I also really like the dark copper look of this, so I'm not trying to remove a ton of it. But for anything, if you're using, again, malachite, turquoise, or amber, or anything like that, I recommend hand polishing and hand sanding as opposed to using a Dremel tool until you feel, unless you feel very confident in your dremeling. I personally do not. So here I am hand sanding. So I'm pretty happy with the color and everything on this. Like, I just love it, actually. And so I'm going to use my Moonshine jewelry or Sunsheen, or, you know, whatever jewelry polishing cloth you have. This is just a polishing cloth that has Jeweler's Rouge like impregnated into the material. And I do like wearing gloves with this stuff because I just don't like the way it makes my hands feel. Like, I always have to go and wash my hands afterwards, so I figured if I'm gloved up already, oh, no, that's pretty. I feel like this has done more than what the sandpaper did. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all, there's a whole bunch of tutorials out there that show you exactly how to polish copper and use liver of sulfur, and I highly recommend them. But I wanted to experiment and do something that's probably wrong, I guess, but I'm having fun learning. I like to use the broad side of my thumb. Oh man, and this is so satisfying too. Oh my gosh. And then I'm just going to buff this down with an old cotton t-shirt to remove any of the Jeweler's Rouge feeling. And we could use, after I've buffed that off, I'm going to use the Renaissance wax to give a little bit of a protective varnish. It'll still, I'm not going to count on this not turning my skin green when I wear it because it is bare copper and I'm just personally very reactive to that. But it'll make it nice and shiny. And there we are. And you can see it actually left a little bit of a residue on the back where the clay isn't sealed from the copper, probably just buffing off into it. So that's something to watch out for. So instead of the cotton cloth, I'm just going to use this paper towel because I think that'll be fine. Lots of rubbing. I don't think I'd send this through a tumbler personally, just because I think it would do more damage than benefit to the polymer clay, and what with its painted surface. And now let's do the Renaissance wax. So this is a new bottle. Whew, it's got a smell to it. And you could probably get away with using like a buffing wheel or something too. But again, just whatever you feel your comfort zone is. I feel confident in teaching wire wrapping. This part, I'm like, I'm a noob too. I am a student. Please educate me, and all of us really, down in the comment area, because y'all's experience and perspective and expertise is going to come in so handy just in helping all of us, you know, to learn to do our best work. So this is how to make February's craft along project, though I mean I feel like this is good any time of year. And if y'all have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. I love hearing from y'all. There is a link in the video description for if you would like to get kits of your own, but there's also a list of the tools and materials. So if you already have them, or if you're purchasing them individually from somewhere else, I do highly recommend Parawire for the enameled copper wire that we are going to be doing this project using the silver toned Parawire in the 21 gauge square in future tutorials. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. But this isn't a sponsored post. I just really enjoy their products and highly, highly recommend them. And we do have a calendar on our website of events where you can RSVP for free and get notifications sent to you for future tutorials, so you don't have to rely on YouTube or anything like that. But you also don't have to miss out. So I think that's everything. If not, there's more stuff down in the video description. But thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see y'all next time. So until then, happy crafting. Mwah! Bye.